August 6, 2025, the skies above Samir, only 15 miles from NATO's border, were calm and blue until, in an instant, they erupted into fire and thunder. Without warning, Russia unleashed 3 Iskander short-range ballistic missiles along with a storm of 53 suicide drones. Together, the strike package carried a price tag of more than $120 million, all directed at a single Ukrainian stronghold. Had the attack succeeded, the consequences would have been catastrophic. More than 4,000 troops, along with critical fuel reserves, weapons depots, and command and control systems, could have been obliterated within minutes. At first, the assault appeared unstoppable. The drones roared low across the horizon, skimming the treetops at nearly 120 miles per hour, their engines growling like a swarm of locusts. Above them, the ballistic missiles plunged from the stratosphere at speeds exceeding Mach 6, fiery trails carving through the upper atmosphere. For a few tense seconds, the future of Ukraine's western defenses hung in the balance. But Ukraine was no longer the same nation it had been in the early years of the war. Hidden radar arrays painstakingly installed and tested over weeks detected and tracked each incoming trajectory. At the critical moment, Ukrainian air defenses erupted into action. From the skies, bayonet drone interceptors, specialized hunter UAVs built for aerial combat, swooped down into the swarm, flying in coordinated pairs. They collided with the Russian drones at high speed, detonating directional warheads that shredded target after target. Explosions rippled across the horizon as the invading drones were torn from the sky. Within 5 minutes, every single one of the 53 UAVs had been destroyed. Not one breached the defensive perimeter. On the ground, the Patriot PAC-3 missile batteries thundered to life. Their interceptors streaked skyward, leaving brilliant white contrails. Seconds later, the 3 Russian ballistic missiles were smashed apart at an altitude of 25,000 feet, erupting into flaming debris that rained harmlessly into empty farmland. In a fortified underground bunker beneath the base, the Ukrainian general, overseeing the defense, rose from his chair, his voice echoing through the loudspeakers. "We are not merely defending. Every Russian attack will be turned into their graveyard." Russia's opening movement to cripple Ukraine's western front had instead showcased the transformation of Ukraine's defensive capabilities. But then came the question, what next? If you were the supreme commander of Ukraine, would you order a massive counteroffensive, striking Russia while its attack had just failed? By dawn on August 7, 2025, at 2:18 a.m., Ukraine's high command delivered an answer that startled even its own frontline units. Rather than rushing into a conventional large-scale counterattack, Ukrainian generals revived one of the oldest and most effective forms of warfare: guerrilla tactics. The orders were daring in their simplicity: fight without needing to win. Small units, 3 to 5 soldiers at most, slipped deep behind enemy lines. They carried little more than silenced rifles, shoulder-mounted anti-armor rockets, and a handful of explosive charges. Their mission was not to seize ground, but to sow terror and chaos. That very night, a Russian supply convoy of 12 fuel trucks rumbled near Novovolinsk. From the tree line, Ukrainian operatives struck. Within 90 seconds, 3 trucks were engulfed in flames, and the attackers melted back into the forest before Russian reinforcements could even arrive. At dawn, another raid destroyed a key communications hub, leaving Russian field radios silent for hours. These were not conventional battles, they were psychological strikes. Every few hours, across the sector, something erupted: a sudden explosion, the crack of a sniper's bullet, or the eerie disappearance of an entire patrol. The effect on Russian troops was devastating. Fear spread faster than the gunfire itself. By the 7th day of raids, drone surveillance showed Russian formations collapsing into disarray. Some platoons refused to leave their trenches at night. Others wasted ammunition firing blindly into the darkness, terrified of enemies they could not see. Exhaustion and paranoia seeped into every unit. Ukrainian intelligence estimated that by the end of the first week, 60% of Russia's combat Effectiveness in this sector had been neutralized not by pitched battles, but by relentless psychological and asymmetric warfare. What had begun as a gamble by Ukraine's generals was rapidly unfolding into a masterpiece of modern guerrilla tactics. Russia, with all its overwhelming firepower, suddenly found itself bleeding strength not from the front lines, but from the shadows. Suddenly, the enemy found itself unable to maintain control over the battlefield. What began as small, scattered skirmishes was now transforming into something far larger. The minor clashes had merely been a prelude. A full-scale offensive was inevitable. If you want to continue following these events, support us by liking and subscribing to the channel, because what comes next reveals the true power of the Ukrainian army. By August 13, 2025, at precisely 5:40 a.m., after 7 straight days of relentless guerrilla strikes, the Ukrainian president gave the historic authorization for a full-scale counteroffensive. The signal was transmitted from Kyiv, and within minutes, the skies over western Ukraine roared to life with the thunder of engines. From concealed improvised airstrips and converted farmlands, more than 300 low-cost suicide UAVs ascended into the dawn. Each drone was under 55 pounds, carrying a compact but deadly 15-pound explosive charge. They were fitted with simple GPS navigation systems paired with small onboard cameras, primitive in isolation, but devastating as a swarm. Ukrainian engineers had designed these weapons in less than 24 hours, utilizing 3D printed frames, ordinary lithium batteries, and commercial processors. The guiding principle was not elegance, but effectiveness overwhelmed Russia's defenses. Through sheer numbers, not expense, the swarm's target was a Russian base near Samir, where over 2,000 Russian troops, armored vehicles, and supply depots were concentrated. As the massive UAVs approached, Russian air defense systems sprang to life, firing surface-to-air missiles worth millions of dollars each. Yet the cost-benefit ratio was crushing. For every drone eliminated, 5 more broke through moments later. The devastation began. Fuel depots erupted into flames like erupting volcanoes. Artillery emplacements were obliterated. An entire row of T-70 tanks crumbled into molten wreckage. The battlefield shook with destruction. Then, crisis struck. A cluster of 5 drones malfunctioned, their GPS signals scrambled by Russian electronic warfare systems. Disoriented, they drifted off course, veering straight toward a forward-positioned Ukrainian artillery battery preparing to open fire. Had they struck, more than 120 Ukrainian soldiers and 6 self-propelled howitzers would have been annihilated. By friendly fire at the last possible moment, Ukraine's electronic countermeasures ECCM activated. Portable frequency hopping transmitters were engaged, allowing operators to wrest control back from the interference. With a burst of corrected coordinates, the rogue drones were redirected. They swerved away from the Ukrainian positions and dove into a Russian ammunition storage site instead. The impact produced a towering fireball, visible for more than 20 miles, turning near disaster into a stunning triumph. As smoke poured into the sky, phase 2 commenced. 30 Ukrainian self-propelled artillery systems opened fire in unison, guided by precision data relayed from overhead drones. Their shells tore deep craters across the Russian base, shredding what remained of the armored defenses. Above the chaos, 20 reconnaissance UAVs hovered, their live feeds streaming back to command posts. These drones not only tracked surviving targets, but also directed new waves of camera-equipped suicide drones. Acting like hunters, the drones pursued Russian soldiers attempting to regroup. With surgical precision, they locked onto their prey, and dove trenches and open fields became kill zones as small squads were engulfed by smoke, shrapnel, and fire. Panic consumed the defenders, survivors fled in disarray, searching for cover that no longer existed. By the assault's end, the once formidable Russian base had been reduced to a smoldering wasteland. What could have been a catastrophic friendly fire incident was narrowly avoided, and instead, Ukraine delivered devastation so complete that Russian recovery seemed impossible. Improvisation and cheap technology had been forged into a weapon of absolute destruction, but the battle was far from over. The war itself was not yet won, the enemy still remained, and the Ukrainian forces were prepared to press on. By August 14th, 2025, 6:30 a.m., the battlefield near Samir was transformed into a blackened wasteland. Thick columns of smoke still rose from burning Russian depots. The acrid stench of scorched fuel and shattered armor hung heavy in the morning air. The drone assault had broken the enemy, but reclaiming territory required soldiers on the ground. The order came: advance and cleanse. From their camouflaged positions, 10 Ukrainian tanks surged forward, their engines roaring like mechanical beasts. These were modernized T-64s, upgraded with advanced fire control systems. Guided by live UAV coordinates, their 125mm cannons hammered Russian strongpoints that the drone swarm could not reach. Bunkers collapsed into rubble, while hidden machine gun nests in tree lines were shredded apart. Russian soldiers who had survived the aerial strikes now found themselves cornered, their shelters turned into death traps. Close behind the tanks, 15 armored trucks thundered across the blasted fields. Inside rode 550 elite Ukrainian infantrymen. Hardened by years of battle, they were special operations troops, swift, silent, and lethal. Upon reaching the shattered Russian perimeter, they dismounted with precision, dividing into squads that spread like shadows through the wreckage. Their mission was simple but vital: eliminate resistance and capture every fragment of useful intelligence. Above them, small quadcopter drones, no larger than a backpack, hovered in the smoky air. Equipped with infrared cameras, they scanned the ruins, detecting the faint heat signatures of Russian soldiers hiding in dugouts or beneath collapsed structures. And when the monitors lit up, the infantry squad surged forward, moving with a rhythm born of experience and determination. Grenades arced through the air, bursting with sharp cracks, followed by the thunder of rifle fire. Within moments, the enemy position fell silent. Russian troops tried desperately to regroup. At a warehouse, nearly 40 survivors attempted to carve out a defensive line, dragging heavy machine guns into place. Shadows. Dozens of loitering mini-drones, each armed with small explosives, dove relentlessly onto the position. The warehouse vanished in fire and shrapnel, the last organized pocket of resistance obliterated before it even began. To the west, along the tree line, scattered Russian groups broke and fled into the forest. UAVs hovered overhead, unblinking and merciless, tracking every movement. Their positions were streamed live to advancing infantry. Within the hour, those fugitives were either surrounded or cut down. Exhausted, shaken, and with no escape, scores of Russian soldiers abandoned their rifles and raised trembling hands. In surrender by midday, nearly 300 Russian troops had laid down their arms. Over the ruins of the base, the Ukrainian flag climbed the pole once again. What began with sabotage raids had eroded the enemy's strength. What followed was a storm of drones that shattered their will. Now, on the ground, Ukrainian soldiers finished the hunt. This victory was more than a reclamation of land. It was evidence that intelligence, persistence, and precision could humble an adversary once seen as invincible. But the battle was not yet finished. The final tactics that secured the territory were still to come. At dawn on August 15, 2025, the reclaimed Ukrainian base near Samir awoke to a new threat. Radar operators detected fast-approaching Signatures 10 Russian fighter jets streaking in from the east. They came at nearly 600 miles per hour, Su-34s and Su-35s bristling with guided bombs powerful enough to level entire compounds. Moscow's intent was unmistakable: erase the base and erase the humiliation of their defeat. Sirens wailed across Ukrainian positions, troops scrambled for shelter as the jets carved across the orange sky. At 15 miles out, Russian pilots armed their payloads, preparing a precision strike. For a heartbeat, destruction seemed certain. Ukraine's hard-fought victory poised to vanish beneath tons of explosives. But the Russians had walked into a trap. Ukraine had anticipated the counterstrike. Under the cover of night, mobile batteries of the Patriot PAC-3 air defense system had been redeployed to shield the base. As the Russian jets crossed into range, commanders gave the order. Hidden launchers spat fire as 7 Patriot missiles screamed skyward, their white contrails cutting through the dawn. In seconds, they locked on, the sky erupted. A Su-34 vanished in a mid-air fireball at 20,000 feet. Another jet, wing-shredded, spiraled helplessly into the forest below. In under 2 minutes, 7 Russian aircraft were reduced to flaming wreckage. The surviving 3 tried to press their attack, but fear spread in their cockpits. One took a near miss, shrapnel carving through its fuselage. Warning alarms blared, fuel sprayed from ruptured lines, radar screens crackled with interference. Shaken, the pilots dumped their bombs harmlessly into empty fields and fled back toward Russian skies. On the ground, Ukrainian soldiers erupted in cheers. The Patriot crews, calm and methodical, simply reloaded. They knew this strike would not be the last. For Russia, the losses were devastating. Not only 7 advanced jets worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but also the collapse of their aura of air supremacy. Within 72 hours, Russia had been transformed from aggressor into humiliated, retreating force. Ukraine had defended, counterattacked, and prevailed with precision, proving to allies and enemies alike that even a supposed superpower could be beaten by intelligence, courage, and adaptability. The battle for Western Ukraine in August 2025 would not only be remembered for its scale, but for its meaning. Russia hurled wave after wave drones, missiles, fighters at a single Ukrainian base near Samir, and at every stage, their assault was broken. Interceptors and Patriots blunted the skies, guerrilla raids undermined defenses, and a carefully planned counteroffensive harnessed both high-tech and improvised tools of war. What began as a desperate defense evolved into a textbook of modern combat. Ukraine demonstrated that victories are not solely claimed by massive armies or expensive arsenals. Sometimes triumph comes from small squads striking at the perfect moment, from drones built in workshops overnight, from the will to fight even when all odds point to defeat. For Russia, the campaign closed in disaster-wrecked bases, broken morale, jets falling from the heavens. For Ukraine, it marked a turning point, proof that intelligence, discipline, and adaptability could transform weakness into overwhelming strength. As the smoke drifted away, one undeniable truth remained. Ukraine was no longer simply enduring. Ukraine was rewriting the art of war. Your support means everything. Stay with us, subscribe, and continue to follow the frontline stories the world cannot afford to ignore.